When I really sit down and think about it, there have just been so many times where I've had a video that I was working on and it was pretty much done. Like the script was solid and I'd already filmed it and most of the editing was finished, and I would still just sit there late at night stressing out over just the smallest details, like trying to change colors and add all these sound effects. And I was doing it on a video that was probably going to get at most like 50 views. And the thing is, I wasn't even really trying to make the video better. I was just doing whatever I could to avoid finishing that video. And eventually I realized that I didn't really have a YouTube problem or an editing problem or an equipment problem. I was just spending too much time on things that felt productive and not enough time on things that actually pushed my channel forward. I really had a priorities problem. A video that's mostly finished is worth a lot more than a potentially perfect video that's just sitting in your draft. And once I realized that, the way that I approach YouTube and just making videos in general completely changed. One thing that I've learned over the course of this year, just developing my channel, is that if you want to be even like a little decent on YouTube, you're going to have to get good at a lot of things. And this includes editing and titles and thumbnails, checking your analytics, researching other niches and your own niche to find out what actually works. And we all know those things matter. And that's not the problem. The problem I see is when I start treating all of these things like they deserve the same amount of time and attention. Like, I'll spend an hour obsessing over a sound effect for a second in my video, and then I'll work another hour on my thumbnail and act like those things carry the same amount of weight in the end. Everything starts to feel equally important and like it should cause the same amount of time and energy, and everything starts to feel overwhelming as a result of me trying to do that. And that's why the Good Enough Matrix really clicks for me, because it just gave me a way to separate what actually needs and deserves my energy from what feels urgent just in that specific moment. Now, I recently made a friend about my friend Simi's productivity system that she created, the Good Enough Matrix. And it's built around 4 quadrants that help you figure out where to direct your energy depending on what actually matters and what you have the capacity for at that time. And I'll link the video somewhere here if you want the full breakdown. But for now, I want to apply that same framework specifically to YouTube, because after doing this for over a year, I've learned that almost everything that we do as creators fits somewhere in that matrix. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started with the efficient quadrant. The things that we do for YouTube that are very high impact and actually don't take a lot of effort at all. And these are the things that really cost almost nothing in terms of energy, but are actually really necessary and important to keep the channels running long term. And these are tasks that you can run on autopilot because you designed them that way, and that's intentional. In this quadrant, this would include things like keeping a good running list of video ideas in an easy to access place, just so you always have those ideas at the ready. Also, just keeping your filming setup very simple and consistent. And this is something that I've been really trying to do more so recently, because I like when things are simple. And having to move my equipment and change everything up every time I want to shoot a video, it takes a long time, and it really causes me to get discouraged in the process of actually making the video. When things are consistent and when things are the same, if you're filming some sort of talking head video, then it's easier, and then you can just film the content, and the easier that you can get to your editing and actually finish that video. And another big one is doing your thumbnail and your title before you actually start working on the script and filming your video. And I know, this is advice that you've seen every goddamn YouTube guru talking about. And it's something that I've been trying to do a lot better with recently. And once you do it and do it consistently, you really start to see the benefit in it. Once I know what I want to communicate with my title and my thumbnail, I know exactly what I need to include in the script, and my editing just becomes tighter, I find. Now, moving on to the overwhelm quadrant, the quadrant where I admittedly still tend to spend a lot more time than I need to because it's easy. These are the not so optimal habits that we tend to spend a lot of time and energy on. So we tend to do a lot of low impact things that take a high amount of time and energy investment that aren't very intentional. Things like refreshing your analytics as soon as you upload a video, before the video has even really had a chance to maybe find an audience. Everyone is going to go through this analytics obsession, where we feel like we just need to constantly refresh the studio to check our view count and our likes and our comments to see if anything significant changed. When in reality, once you upload, if you're not really planning on intentionally doing something like a thumbnail or a title change and really watching how that impacts your CTR, you're not doing anything but stressing yourself out for no reason. Also, spending just a lot of time on smaller, minute production things, elements, details, that your viewers probably won't even notice. And this was absolutely me when I first started, because I felt like I needed to try and be like this big successful YouTuber, or like the big successful YouTubers that have teams and that are a lot more experienced than I am. So I wanted to have like this cool editing, and then I started to like research color grading, when in reality I probably should have just been focused on making videos and getting comfortable on camera and worrying about all that other stuff bit by bit later, and not all at once in the beginning, because it just takes too much time. Also, does anyone else have this like habit or tendency to watch a whole bunch of YouTube how-to or guru videos just prior to starting, and that kind of pushed off your eventual start date to actually make videos on YouTube? Because it's okay, I was there too. I spent weeks watching how-to videos before I actually ever recorded anything, and that wasn't research, it was procrastination. I should have spent that time actually making videos. The focus quadrant: high impact and a decent amount of time and energy invested. But these are the things that are really worth the full attention, our full attention, when we have the capacity to complete them, because these things can compound and really make our channels go. There's power in having discipline to do these things 100% and not halfway, but also recognizing when your energy isn't really there to do them. So you can just take that time and move to a different quadrant. Obviously, things like scripting and filming and editing will go in here, but also maybe developing a new skill each time you edit a video, whether that is color grading or a new transition, or just finding things to make yourself better on camera each time. When I think of this section, I also think of hooks. Again, we've all watched those videos about how the first 30 seconds of your video can really make or break whether people stick around or not. And hopefully you all stayed. Hopefully a lot of people stayed until this point. And this is something, again, I've learned to be true over the course of having this channel. And so I've been working on spending more time investing in these first 30 seconds. And another big one is really just honing in on your content pillars and doing research on what you want your channel to actually be about. Now, I feel like a lot of my channel has just been kind of all over the place the last year, but I've recently been working really hard to hone in somewhat on niching into intentional living. And after spending some time, doing that research and being more intentional with the subject matter, the things that I want to talk about, I just feel a lot more excited in the process of planning and making content. Also, checking your analytics in a non-toxic, non-overwhelmed quadrant way would also go into this section. And not just like anxiety-driven, constant refreshing, but actually taking the time to analyze where people drop off and why one thumbnail did better and why this title probably didn't bang, because you have to study to know what you need to do better next time. And let's get to the last section. Last but absolutely not least, good enough. Low impact and low time and energy investment tasks, because these are the things that will help you stay sustainable with your channels. And they're not compromises, and they're definitely not like failures, but these are the intentional choices that we're going to make that preserve our energy for things that we actually have to do. The key word being intentional. And you're not putting things in this category because you're lazy or that you don't want to do them. You're putting them in this category specifically because you know your capacity for where you're at in your YouTube journey. And keeping something good enough means that you're going to stay consistent and that you're not going to burn out and just not post for like months at a time. And that's something like uploading a video that's like 75-80% done of what you imagined. You're working on the video and essentially it's done, but there are still some things that you feel like you might want to do with it. And that's just, it's keeping you from actually pushing that video out. And like I said earlier, a video that's mostly finished is way more valuable than a perfect video that's just sitting in your drafts or sitting somewhere in your editing software. Frequency has helped me personally kind of build and help my confidence as a creator, and hopefully it'll help the algorithm find me an audience too. And I stopped pushing off these videos because they're not 100% done the way I wanted them to be in the beginning. Maybe sometimes you just want to make a shorter video, and this is something that I'm coming to terms with myself, because for some reason I was really focused on every video needing to be like 10 or 12, 15 minutes for some reason. And I was just really having a hard time stretching my videos and making that happen. And eventually I just kind of settled on whatever time was at the end of my editing software. Sometimes it's an 8-minute video, and sometimes it's a 10-minute video. It might be a 5-minute video. I don't want to pack in a whole lot of fluff and nothing and unnecessary content into my videos, because if I make a point, or if I make a point that I want to make in that limited time, that's good enough for me. And sometimes I like to use my B-roll a lot. Maybe you don't have the energy to go out and film something new, and maybe you can't find it. Maybe the B-roll that you have is just good enough. Use that same B-roll that you used in the previous video. I promise it's good enough. I do it all the time. And the best part about the matrix, the things in the quadrants can move. They're supposed to move. For example, for my job, I move around so often that when life gets busy and I'm bouncing from city to city for work, I might not have a time to make every video 100% perfect the way I want. So things tend to shift around to good enough until I'm able to get settled and figure everything out. And that's fine. You're not supposed to fight that really. The point is to look at the matrix and just go, okay, this is where I'm at right now, and design your YouTube journey around that instead of trying to just force or optimize your way into a version that just doesn't have that energy right now. And I feel like most creators don't quit because they like run out of ideas. They quit because they run out of energy trying to make everything perfect. And you can't really optimize your way into consistency, but you can be intentional enough to keep showing up. YouTube is hard enough as it is with everything that you have to learn. And so I think just by giving yourself a way to kind of auto your energy and categorize things the way that we have to do, you'll be able to just keep showing up and keep creating. That's what I do. Again, I think this is a great matrix, a great tool for a lot of reasons, but applying it to YouTube is definitely going to help me stay and keep being consistent and hopefully be successful on here. If you made it to the end, now it's your turn. Tell me about one thing in your YouTube process or your channel that you've just really been trying to make perfect, but it'll probably do better in the good enough quadrant. You're editing, color grading, focusing too much on specific angles or analytics. I'm sure there's something. Like always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.